unroll the garment and gently remove the garment. And you want to be very careful. It's still pretty fragile. And I'm going to put this aside on my blocking board and put aside my towel. And now is when you start the fun of getting to see your garment in a more finished light. This is your opportunity to choose between a traditional blocking board like the one you see here with the grid, a homemade blocking board, or the knitter's block. And the knitter's block are these connecting pieces of blocking board that I used in my home for a long time because I have a smaller house, and this way I could store the one bag easily and just connect what I needed. In the case of a sleeve, I just might need these two. In the case of a large shawl, I would need to put together the whole blocking board and sometimes more, but it has a really nice finish. Now there are competitive brands to the knitter's block that are available. However, I have found their quality to be substandard and quite frankly not worth the few dollars you might save. Now we come to another point that you might want to consider. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't like to weave in my ends until after I've blocked, especially in lace. You will find that when you pull lace the way it needs to be pulled, you're gonna pull out ends that you've woven. And this brings us to another important fact. As you can see here, my ends are extending beyond the board. And these boards bend for a reason. And they not only bend so that you can store it, but you can block and bring it down here and continue to block, continue to pin, and then you would just store this board upright like a V, and you'll be able to block out a very large garment without too much trouble. Another option, I have saved the large pieces of corrugated that come with your come with a refrigerator and blocked shawls on that. Here I have my rust resistant T-pins. These are a smaller style T-pin. I like them, they're a little more delicate. And then here are some of the traditional size T-pins that are available. Really doesn't matter, it's personal preference and it's what you happen to have on hand. When you have a straight line, you can either choose to use many pins, like I am doing right here, or you have the option of running a piece of thread, cotton thread, maybe dishcloth cotton, through the bumps on the knitted bumps. The Yarn Harlot has a great tutorial on her blog about how she had done that. Or you can use the knitting wires, which are rust resistant wires. But I guess I'm old school, and I don't mind pinning out the garment this way. I think the time that it takes me to pick up with the wires, I spend just as much time pinning. But for like a large rectangular stole, I can understand the benefits. So I don't need to use the block there. Now you can see that the design feature of this shawl is a strong vertical line running through the triangular piece. So I'm basically, as I pin my own shawl here, I'm basically setting up this V of stockinette to run the V by the 24 and then the 24 all the way down here. So I'm going to maintain a vertical line, and I've chosen to do so at the 24, so I'm just going to be very conscious to keep these knitted V stitches from the stockinette in the pattern. Now this is one of those times when you're going to want to pay attention to either the schematic, if it's available for your pattern, whether it be a simple cardigan, sweater, or shawl, or the finished photograph. So you're going to come out and you're going to go ahead and look. The reason why the schematic's important is you'll see here, if the designer designed it to pull here and make that U this way, and I'm choosing to pin it this way, it's not going to come out the right way. But in this case, this is where it goes. Just following the triangle or the diamond pattern here. With lace, lace needs to be pulled out aggressively. And it also requires a little bit of fidgeting. So I might pull here and realize that by looking at my V-stitches here that I might have pulled a little too tight and ease up. And in some cases, I might realize that I need to stretch them further. So that is, once you put a pin in, it doesn't mean it has to sit there the entire time. You can choose to remove the pin and replace it. I think when a lot of people become intimidated about blocking lace, they feel like they didn't get the initial straight line or the initial patterning, and they just kind of give up there. And that's not the case. The pins move and the boards are self-healing for a reason. So you continue pinning the rest of the garment, and with wet blocking, you just leave it until it is done, and by done, it is dry. I leave mine for anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. So I'm going to finish pinning up here and pinning there. So we're going to finish pinning this garment, and next we're going to move into steam blocking. Steam blocking is very similar to wet blocking in that we're adding moisture to help bloom the yarn, and we're tricking the yarn into the shape that we want. So steam blocking is what we're up for, next. And yeah, so steam blocking, we'll move on to that. Really, we have to do it this way, right? So steam blocking has three easy steps. The first is you're pinning the garment to the table or putting it on the form if you're blocking a hat or socks. As you can see, I've already started to pin out this garment, and I'm just going to finish the remaining pins. Lace, like we said before, is magical. It looks tight and unformed until it's stretched out into submission. For simplicity on this piece, being that this was a long flat area of knitting, I used knitting wires to block, and they're simply a metal wire. You can either get them at a welding supply store and make your own, or you can purchase them pre-made, and they're strung through the knit stitches here. And then this way, rather than use, I'd say this would probably be 20 or so pins, you can see that I've used probably half a dozen pins. So the lace shawl has been pinned into submission, and I apply the steam. I choose to use distilled water so that it doesn't clog up the Rowenta. There are dedicated steamers. Sunchi and some other manufacturers make dedicated steamers. But for simplicity, I just have this steam function on my standard iron. You want to always make sure that you're never touching the plate of the iron to the knitwear. Bad things can happen, especially in a yarn that has a high acrylic content.